Very, very good. You are both mine and my cameraman's most favourite DOP.
Oh, really?
In fact, you can see we're shooting on an FX3 today, which
amazing camera.
which in itself is kind of a story as to the way films and the way to see the action has changed across the years.
Yeah.
How much of that have you been particularly aware of? Because obviously the technology changes year on year, but the art of capturing a good story, the essence of that has remained the same.
I mean, ultimately, that's what it's all about, isn't it? You know, capturing a story and telling a story. So the fact that these little cameras are out, I feel like it's freeing up us as filmmakers to be able to think about shot construction that we never were able to think about. If you go back into the 50s, these cameras were the size of refrigerators. And so the films looked a certain way, and you could only capture things a certain way. And then in the 70s, as film cameras started getting smaller, you get films like The French Connection that suddenly reinvented the way that cameras start to move. And French New Wave cinema, where cameras were handheld and there weren't direct linear cuts. But then the advantage of these cameras now is that anybody can get their hands on it, and you don't have to go to film school. You know what I mean? You can learn from shooting it and editing it and shooting it. And I'm a massive fan of YouTubers that do that, because to me that's the spirit of the best filmmakers. They just get out and do it. They don't allow restrictions and limitations to stop them from doing something.
And we talked to, for the latest Mission Impossible, we were talking to the director. It was saying that his challenges were different in that most films you have to, when the stunt double comes in, you have to film things a certain way. In his case, he had to put lots of small cameras in small spaces to show everybody that it actually was Tom.
Totally.
Do you have those kind of challenges in some of the things you've done lately?
Well, I mean, not so much one of the things about the creator that we did with the small cameras was it allow us to use small equipment, like small incidental equipment, small remote heads, and also it allows us to shoot in very low light. In something like Dune Part 2, which is what we're here for, it wasn't so critical to have smaller cameras. There was a couple of ornithopter sequences where we utilised the small mini LF, but for the most part we were on bigger cameras, and the advantage of bigger cameras is it has a heft or a weight behind it. So there is an advantage and a comparison where if you've got a heavier camera and a bigger setup, it can feel more grounded. So it's a little bit of a kind of a test of what you're trying to achieve in terms of the story, which makes the camera good small or good big.
And one thing that I really appreciate about what seems to happen with you is you haven't been pigeonholed. In that one end you've got Gareth with his FX3, and then you've got these enormous rigs for Dune. You're kind of you're not pigeonholed into a particular thing. How much fun is it for you to be able to work on projects of scale, but they're also very different in the way that they're directed?
I mean, listen, I of course would work with Denis Villeneuve any day of the week, and for the rest of my career. Doesn't always work out that schedules align. So sometimes having the opportunity to work on different projects with different directors, it's a bit of a gift, because I tend to learn off every director I work with. Like everybody that I work with, I learn a lot from. Like I learned a lot from Denis, I learned a lot from Matt Reeves, I learned a lot from Gareth Edwards, Garth Davis, Catherine Bigelow, Adam McKay. Like I learned from all these fantastic directors that I've worked with over the years about different approaches and how they see the world. Because part of my job is to mind meld with them. It's to kind of like, to use a silly X-Men analogy, my kind of job is my brain to melt into theirs and for us to become like a super brain, So I've got to understand where they're coming from in order to be able to best serve their vision, and then to be able to give back to them. So going back to the original question, like it's amazing to be able to have that opportunity to not always work on, films in the desert. I remember I did a film called Bright Star with Jane Campion, and I loved doing that film. And I got offered quite a few period films after that. People thought of me as the period DP, and I didn't take any of them because they didn't actually interest me at that point in time. Matt Reeves called me and emailed me and said, I love the way that you handled the relationship in Bright Star, and I've got a film I want to talk to you about where there's a relationship between a couple of kids. That was a film called Let Me In, and I jumped at that because it was a horror, So
Right.
it was a horror, but still had the same essential characterizations and the same amazing character development. So that's what interested me more than anything.
And that's a great point, because while you work on projects of enormous scale, the thing that you seem to be able to capture is the very human and authentic reactions which are at the heart of it. Is there ever any friction between trying to capture the two, or is that for you a seamless thing?
No, it's always, filmmaking's hard, there's always things to stop us from getting what we need. It's either the sun's going down, there's too much noise on the road behind us, there's always a problem. Like, there's never a situation that's perfect. So I think what I've learned from some of the amazing directors that I've having to work with in the past, about just drowning out all the noise, literal and figurative, drowning out the noise and getting to the heart of the story, which is effectively always in here, It's always generally in here. And if you're allowing the actors the space to be able to kind of perform, then I think you get to the heart of the story.
Awesome. Well, it's been fantastic to speak to you. Thanks so much, and have yourself a wonderful evening.
Thank you. It's been wonderful to talk to you.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.